Greetings. I am Kimberly HayDay.
And I'm Amanda Day.
And guess what? You're listening to the Fundraising HayDay podcast,
where we cover the how-tos of grants and fundraising.
And how we can all do a better job of changing the world through philanthropy.
And our Patreon subscribers get these episodes early.
What?
So y'all, we have made it to the final episode of season 8. And more exciting than that is that we will be back for season 9 starting in January 2026. Woohoo!
And keep a good girl down.
No, you can't.
Not that I'm a good girl. Let me just back off of that. But anyway, listen, I think when we first got started, Amanda, you were like, hey, I think it'll be a couple of seasons. Or we had that conversation. I'm like, no, man, there's all this stuff to talk about. And there is, and there will continue to be. Yes. So as long as you want to keep listening, we're going to be here talking and singing and stuff, and it's going to be great. So, but speaking of new things, the podcast no longer new, but there's some new things that we're doing that you might be interested in, or you might know people who could benefit from this. And I want to talk to you about HayDay Services' newest line of training. So we have on-demand courses such as our Grants Lab, which is our signature, like intensive live online training. We've also developed an on-demand because time and money, right? So that's on there, but we also are debuting this year 2 new audio courses. So just in your ears, however you like to listen to sounds in your ears. And we have 2 audio course series, and there'll be more, but for right now, grant writing and one on grant management. So we can sell them in modules. You can buy them in modules, and they're just $19.99 a module, right? Different topics. You can go on our website and see that, and Amanda will tell you how to do that in just a second. Each module is like 20 to 30 minutes. So we like to talk a lot, but this is our version of micro-learning, right? Highly technical topics. I looked it up. It's we can say it's micro-learning. And it's delivered a lot like this podcast, only that it's more tightly formatted because they're clearly points that we need to hit. And it's there's a resource guide that comes with it. Again, it's our 50 plus years of training experience and the way we like to teach in an informal way about complex things, and you get a resource guide. If you are in the mood, you can purchase an entire series of 12 modules for $197, and that's easily like 6 hours worth of content delivered in 20 to 30 minute capsules, if you will.
So you listen at your own pace.
Yeah. Listen, we're also offering, because this is new and it's 2025 and it sounded good, we are offering a 25% off discount code available through December 31st. So 25% off for the remainder of 2025. That could be anything. It could be 25% off one module, right? And that's okay too. It could be 25% off of a whole series. That's okay. It could be both. It could be whatever you want it to be of our
5% of all of our courses, if that's what you
go crazy. Okay. And listen, you may be like, I already know how to write grants and manage grants. I just listen to y'all because I don't know. Well, thanks, first of all. But share the code that Amanda's getting ready to give you. Share the code with people. Maybe you know people who want dip their toes in, but they don't have $5,000, $10,000, $20,000. Although if the grant training is $20,000. Really, they don't have a big ticket money for a big ticket course or conference, but maybe they want to dip their toes in. These audio courses are the perfect way to go. Share the code with anyone and everyone. Anyone who has the code, 25% off. Yep. All on-demand training through the end of the year.
Yep. And that code is HayDay 2025. And a reminder that HayDay is HayDay because it is the combo of our 2 names. So HayDay 2025, we wanted to thank our listeners, and what better way than offering that discount right out the gate. So you can find all of our on-demand content at haydayservices.com/shop. So go shopping, use our code HayDay 2025, and take advantage of a great deal in 2025.
Through that. So we're going to have a quick word from our sponsor, and then we are sharing our 2025 top 10 list with a twist, the ways we rolled with the changes in 2025. We We are thrilled that SNF Writing Solutions is our podcast sponsor for the second half of season 8. Also, season 8, what? Wow. So founder and CEO Stacy Fitzsimmons holds a Master's of Business Administration where her thesis focused on strategic planning and culture change. Combined with her 20 plus years of experience as a project management and grant professional, with a federal grant win rate of 70%, she has learned more than a thing or two about leadership, consulting, and taking calculated risks. So take a listen. So Stacy, this is the last question of our season together. Thanks so much for your support of the podcast and for sharing your wisdom and your humor and your passion. And we got one last question here. Resiliency is what often separates successful organizations from everyone else, right? But how do you define resiliency?
So we saved the hard one for last, right?
We did.
So I think resiliency is the ability to continue on even in the face of challenge, of uncertainty, of every obstacle that could potentially be thrown at you, that you still make it through. And I think for organizations, they have to look at it not just financially, but you have to look at all your systems that you have in play when you're really going to think about resiliency as an organization. You know, how are your people? How resilient are your people? Have you equipped them to be resilient? How resilient is your board? How resilient is your leadership? What kind of attitude does your leadership have about change and about being able to sustain course in light of challenge? But then also, how shock-proof are your other systems? If you have to go out into the public and we're faced with a pandemic that requires you to be people-facing, but you can no longer be people-facing, how do you handle that? Financially, how much of a shock can your organization withstand? Project it out. Can you last 9 months? Can you last 2? Really know how shock-proof your organization is. And then really address those things that maybe are your more vulnerable points. Because the most resilient organizations are continually evolving. They're continually revising and revamping, and they're always looking for ways to improve. They're learning from things that don't quite work, or we've always done it this way, right? So why? Why have we always done it this way? And is it the best way? And has new technology or new processes or new ways of thinking improved the way that we've always done it? The most resilient organizations are always looking forward, knowing what's in their past, but they're always looking forward.
Nice. I think it's good personal advice as well. So thanks for that. And thanks for everything that you've done with us over the year. This last 6 months, it's been fantastic.
Thank you so much.
To find out more about Stacy Fitzsimmons, SNF Writing Solutions, and her incredible offerings, visit snfwritingsolutions.com.
So Amanda, God knows I've done this before. I think I speak for the both of us when I say that 2025 was quite a year, right? From executive orders that hurt a lot of people and enriched others, that negatively impacted nonprofits, to federal grant freezes, till while we're recording this now, a super not helpful to anyone government shutdown because people cannot play in the congressional and senatorial sandboxes together.
Yeah.
What else? It's been a year. And I am not 100% convinced that once 1201 January 1st, 2026 rolls around, that everything will be magically sunshine and roses again, because I've been on this earth for a while now and it's never happened that way. But I remain open to possibilities.
A girl can hope, right?
Yeah.
But that's why we decided this year to focus our annual top 10 list on ways that Kimberly and I personally roll with the punches, because we all need ways to cope, particularly when things are not going well.
Healthier ways to cope, because come to me if you want to talk about unhealthy, because I've been there. So I'm just saying.
Haven't we all? So, Kimberly, why don't you kick off our 2025 top 10 list?
I am delighted to do so. Thank you, my friend. So, number one for me is something that I love. I cannot take credit for this. I would actually like to credit Julie Bowl of Julie Bowl Consulting for helping me educate me about this particular title and topic, and that is minimum viable. So, as a recovering development director, recovering perfectionist, just recovering sometimes and learning.
Fair.
It took me a long time to wrap my head around that sometimes you just need to do a good job and get things done. But you need to get things done. Okay. So a lot of times in the past, even with grants, now I don't want to say, oh yeah, slack off on your work. It's all good. But I'm saying, if you have limited amount of time and resources and pressure and stress, do you need to spend, ask me how I know, 30 minutes on an email, with multiple points? Or can you just go, hey, I know we're all busy. Here are the 4 things that I need from you before we can move this project forward. 1, 2, 3, 4. Thanks for your help. Let me know if you have questions. Bye. Minimally viable emails. And in some cases, minimally viable letters of support, because I am the queen of drafting letters of support. I've had tons of experience. And there are times when every word must be weighted carefully. For example, when you have only 200 words to talk about a complex need in your community, or it's a federal grant and it's 100 pages, but everything, there's so many requirements. Unleash the dragons of perfectionism on that kind of stuff. But for other things like some basic communication, basic civility, basic meal planning, minimum viable can be the way to go, and just set yourself free. I'm always wanting to make healthy choices that are reasonable and realistic around my meals. And now I'm like, okay, because I'm working with a registered dietitian. If you can afford that or have access to that, highly recommend, if making healthy choices is a struggle for you. And so it was like, I'm going to boil it down. For me, I'm not telling you to do this. This was for me. I am simply using this as a minimum viable example before we move on to Amanda's choice. And it was, okay, bottom line, 90 ounces of water, 30 grams of fiber, 100 grams of protein, go. And so now I'm like, oh, well, I'm not going to say it's like a game, but it does unleash a slightly competitive part of me that I think is being put to good use. I'm like, okay, how close can I get? What are the foods that are going to give me the biggest bang for the buck? Because I have very different reasons now for wanting to make healthy choices and live in a healthy body than I had, 10, 20 years ago. So it's like, each meal does not have to be a celebration of all the glory of cuisine or a deep dive into a bag of potato chips, for example, because it'll bring me some short-term comfort. Now I'm like, every day I'm like, how can I get to these goals? What can I put together? Let me find things that are high in protein that I like to eat. Let me find things that are high in fiber that I like to eat, or I can try something new, and let me put it together. And then it just makes it so I'm not spending hours focusing on the right and wrong foods, because it's not right or wrong. For me, it's like, you need lots of fiber, you need lots of protein, you need lots of water. Go. So it's like minimally viable meal planning. So I'm suggesting that can be a way for you. It could be minimal viable laundry. Yep. Is it clean? Yeah. Is it folded? Somewhat. Is it in a drawer somewhere out of sight? Sure. Okay, we're done. We're done. Don't worry about just is it that's all you need. That's all you need. Christmas shopping for someone hard to Christmas shop for. Could I do a gift card? Sure you can. Do I need to bake a cake? I don't know. Could you buy one? Would that make it faster? Can you afford to do that? Just minimum viable. That's it. That's my number one, is when you can reduce, reuse, and recycle, do. You don't have to reinvent.
I can attest that this has been game changing for Kimberly to realize like, okay, this is good enough and I don't need to stress about it so I can move on to other things. So, very good. Um, well, for me, number two on our list, focusing on the facts has really helped me this year. I have a tendency, I can get really riled up when I read something, but not everything we read, especially on social media, is always 100% accurate, and maybe it's more opinion than it is fact. And so for me, before I'm getting all in a tizzy about things, taking a beat and going, okay, but what is actually true before I sound off about something that maybe I don't need to sound off about. And so ways I do that, taking a beat always helps me to not have that initial reaction to things. And plus that helps me not spread false information if I just don't go running off the mouth about something I've read.
Right.
Another thing is finding trusted sources, particularly when it comes to things involving the grant world. The National Council of Nonprofits, their website and their information has been super helpful for things. Reading legitimate news sources rather than just social media. Locally, it's the Atlanta Journal-Constitution. It may be for you the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, but finding a source that is typically prints accurate information. And then also, I like to follow other trusted grant professionals that are very steady in their communication. On LinkedIn, Rachel Werner has been a great one I've been following because she's always so thoughtful about the information that she shares. So that also takes some of the pressure off of me. Like, I don't have to be in the one that's in the know and sharing all the information all the time. It's okay to learn it from other people.
From a trusted expert.
Absolutely.
Who am I thinking of? I've also turned to Matt Watkins and Rusty Stahl, Stahl, as folks on LinkedIn that will regularly, post updates about things in a clear way where nobody's shouty. Yeah. Also, can I just special shout out to Mr. Weatherman on YouTube. He's the best. If you're in the southeastern United States and you're just like, hurricanes, who's she? He's not yelling, he's not frothing at the mouth, and he just talks about weather and patterns. I'm a weather nerd, but I'm just saying you can find people that deliver information in a trusted way.
Yeah, no matter what the topic is.
And just dig in. So thanks for letting me do that.
Oh yeah, no, that's again, it doesn't have to be grant related, no matter what the topic is, finding those people. And I would say too, finding people that I know and trust, no matter whether it's my grant people or whether it's just my family or friends, but people that I can feel comfortable sounding off about things and then calming down and having that, okay, what truly is an appropriate response? Because sometimes the appropriate response is, oh my gosh, my hair is on fire, the house is burning down, we need to know about this. But sometimes it's also like, okay, it's really not that bad, so let's take it down a notch and let's think about an appropriate response. So that for me has been something, because it just, when it seems like everything is on fire, then it's just constant, and I cannot live in that constant state of, oh my gosh, everything is wrong. And so for me, just taking a beat and going, okay, what is actual reality and what can I actually do about it? And sometimes the answer is nothing, and then moving on knowing, okay, then I just need to move on.
Fair. I mean, that's fair.
Yeah.
I think I totally agree. I think you just gotta, it's kind of a cousin of minimally viable, right?
Yeah.
Minimally viable. You're like, okay, this, that is prioritizing.
Yep.
So for number 3 on our top 10 list, I wrote checking spam, allow me to explain. So I know I just ranted briefly about minimally viable ways to get through the world, but there's also something to be said for just building in a series of checks and balances on routine things so they don't get out of control. So the example that just happened, I'm like, oh, dang it. I mean, in the last 3 months is um,
I know
in
what you're going to say.
hmm?
So I know what you're going to say, and it's painful.
Well, there was a conference that we both talked about. Man, we'd like to present there. That could be, they could be some of our people. We could make some valuable connections. And we kept getting emails from this agency, this organization. So I didn't think anything about it. And then I checked spam. We have our hello@HayDay services, which feel free to drop us a line. And I hadn't checked spam for there in a long time. I make it a regular practice for my direct service business email and my personal Gmail, both of those. I'll go in and check spam every once in a while. I just hadn't checked spam here. Well, sitting in there was the invitation to, and it doesn't matter why it went to spam. This is not Gmail's fault. This is on me for not building in a regular time to check our shared spam account and go in and go, oh, here it is. And I clicked on it. I'm like, right, the deadline was a month ago. So there were no take backs on that. So I guess what I would say is when Amanda was talking about things just being on fire and you're running around trying to get things done, don't forget to build in, and it could be a task list that you develop, or if you're like me, I'll schedule a meeting with myself. It's the handling all the crap meeting where I'm just like, okay, you need to schedule this appointment, do these other things, check your spam, go to the whatever those little things need. So because that would have been such an easy thing to do once a week. So easy.
Yeah.
So easy. And we missed an opportunity. So yes, there's a lot going on, but for me, sometimes that means that building in some extra help checkpoints, such as whatever your version of checking spam might be. It could be writing on a calendar on the refrigerator, it's time to change the batteries in the smoke detector or the air filter, or take your car in for service, or take your teeth in for good cleaning, because dental health is important to overall health. All those things. If you're just building in some gentle reminders, you won't get caught out either missing something or experiencing a health or safety issue because you were just like, and let everything slide. So anyway, that's me with number 3.
So me with number 4 is losing myself in a good book. And I know, Kimberly,
Nice.
you're the same way on this one. It's just sometimes part of reading is escaping reality. And so that's something that I've always loved to read, but especially this year, I think it's been especially calming to think, okay, I could either watch the news or I could just read and enjoy this world that I'm immersing myself in right now. A couple things I'll say about that. One, I just finished a series and I will say, as much as I love a good series, it's also frustrating when you're like reading along as the author's writing them and then you have to wait years for that next book to come out. So I'm going to recommend a series that has been out. The last book came out in 2018, so you can read it all end to end if you want to. But Throne of Glass by Sarah J. Maas. It's fantasy, there's magic, there's fighting, there's a heroine that is quirky and snarky and
Wait,
fabulous. Yes.
girl, it is spicy too, right? I haven't read that.
This
This
is
isn't
not.
the,
She also wrote the Akatar series, the A Cold
oh,
Stone and
oh,
Roses.
okay.
That is
That's
very spicy. This one,
okay.
there's one or two scenes here and there, but it's not. That's not the main focus. It is
Because you
more.
know what I was getting ready to joke about, so I won't joke about it.
Yes. So now this one's, I wouldn't let my 10-year-old read it, but but
Fair
there's
enough.
there's not a whole lot in it like that. So, but it was almost like when I got to the last book, I almost didn't want to finish it. Like I wanted to because I wanted to know how it ended and how all the characters ended up, but at the same time, I didn't want it to be over because it was so good. So sometimes whether it's a book or a series just is a world changer. And if you're like, that's great, but I'm not good at picking good books. There's tons of people you can follow on social media that make good recommendations. One of my favorites, it's called Jordy's Book Club. That's spelled Jordys. And I'll put his Instagram link in the show notes if you want to follow. I'm not saying I love every book he recommends, but he does a fabulous job of recommending some good stuff. So, and the last thing I will say too, if you're like, I love reading, but I'd love a book club, but I don't have one locally. Kimberly and I do a monthly book club on our Patreon. So if you want to mosey on over, the link is in our show notes every episode about how to check out our Patreon. If you join at the FHD Friends and Such level, that's $10 a month. One of the many benefits you get is a monthly book club. So you could read along with us and you could hear us book clubbing things. So
I would describe our selections as extraordinarily eclectic because we have very different reading tastes.
we do. And sometimes we love what each other picks, and sometimes I hate
Sometimes we
what I picked. I'm like, ooh, that was a bad one. It happens.
you're still salty about the Jamestown cannibalism book. I can tell.
Oh,
Who doesn't love a good Jamestown cannibalism book? Am I right? Anyway, listen, please, if you, yeah. Also, joining our book club also supports the podcast. So that can be a great way to do that. That's on Patreon. Also, special shout out if you're like, I don't have money to join a book club. Understandable. A second recommendation I have is, believe it or not, and I did not believe it at first, but Dua Lipa's book club. The singer? Yes,
what?
ma'am.
You haven't told me about this.
Yes, ma'am.
Gatekeeping. Give me more.
I didn't mean, well, no, she just, her book, I find her selections, she seems to really love a wide range of fiction, a lot of literary fiction, a lot of fascinating choices. I do like the song Houdini, but I'm not like an avid fan,
I love
like
her.
following everything she does. But I would highly recommend. It has another name, and I'm so sorry I forget the name. But if you were to Google Dua Lipa's book club, and I think I'm sure they're probably paid levels, but she or her team, publishes the book choices, and they're fascinating. I would highly recommend our own book club choices. Also fascinating. We do occasionally break into song, but just to clarify, we're not Dua Lipa. So
she calls it Service 95 Book Club.
Yeah.
At least in the People article.
I mean, it's not something I visit every week, but when I'm looking around, and that brings me to my next on our list, number 5, how I'm rolling with the changes, offloading. And you may be like, what does that have to do with Dua Lipa's book club? Allow me to explain. So finding those trusted sources and letting them, even as something as joyful as reading, which I totally agree with Amanda, reading is a joy of my life. Sometimes it can be like, man, what do I want to read? I don't want to read something just because everybody's pushing it or because a publishing company paid a lot of money to advertise a book. Doesn't mean it's going to be a great book or the right book for me. So again, I'm looking for, are there people that are curating things out there? Are they also selling things? Sure they are. But there could be ways of looking at their curated collections that are a little off all the mainstream things that allow me to go, oh, okay. Like I do want to read the next bestseller from Maureen Johnson in the Truly Devious series that's coming out, 100%. But there may be a writer in translation from Iceland, or I'm more and more interested in reading writers from Spain, a country that I'm falling in love with as slowly and surely. So finding curated things is an offloading because I'm not spinning my wheels doing all these searches. So that's a fun offloading. And when it comes to work life, it's just another way of looking at delegating with intention and saying, we are fortunate and blessed to be able to have a virtual assistant. And there have been a lot of times when we're talking about things, I'm like, can she do this? Can she do that? Can we offload this here? Or we have all these cool ideas that we want to do. We're going to have to park some. We're going to need to offload them. Or I'll say for mine, I can't hold all these things at the same time. What can I offload? Is there someone else that could push this along for us? Is there something our sound engineer could do? Is there something that if Amanda is in a slower spot, could she take on that task for me? Or can we negotiate a little thing because I'm busy with some other things or I'm not feeling well? Are there things that I can delegate where it would make sense and it's not putting undue pressure on another person at that time, and it's taking a load off of me when I'm feeling really stressed or uncertain, which, hello, 2025, it's important for me to monitor that because then I'm not carrying that mental weight. It is a cousin of minimal viable, but the difference is I'm not even being minimally viable myself. I'm like, boom. I've worked with this with new clients too. It's like for direct service clients. I just have a handful, but it's like, I can do that, but not this. We need to, if you have folks on your team that can enter things into the portal, don't pay me to mess around with just grants. I'll just want to go punch somebody in the throat. Have somebody, who do that and bring me in to do the things that I'm good at doing. So offloading on a much more practical level, I think for especially families with children, if you can afford this, and I get it if you can't. I don't personally do this, but I know people who do. Having your groceries delivered, things like that kind of offloading, because I'm in a different place in my life and I'm not shopping for small children. I don't have to get 4 other people dressed and in the cart with me to go shopping. So I'm like, I'm good. But things like that, if you can afford it, or trading off, maybe, also there's all sorts of mutual benefit kinds of things you can do with friends if spending money is not an option. So offloading. Think about it.
I like it. So my number 6 is finding an outlet to vent. I've quickly learned that honestly, social media is really not the place to do that, because it's not getting I appreciate engagement, but it's not getting the thoughtful engagement that I'm looking for, right? I just don't want to be ranty on social media and have people being ranty back at me, because that's just, nobody's winning there. So I think 2 places for me is one. Yes.
The only thing that's winning is the social media platform. Okay. They want you to do that. So just know it's designed for that, not having your work-life balance, social self-care in your best interest. They want to make money and keep eyeballs on them. So please.
And I'm not saying I never do that, because I have my moments where I do, but it never makes me feel better. So I'm trying to do less and less of that. But where it does help, it was part of the HayDay Hot Takes, our newsletter, through our blog posts, through our actual hot takes, because I can share things. And I especially love when we get emails back from folks who, whether they agree or not, but are having responsible social discussions. I love that. So that's been something that I've really enjoyed. And then another thing for me is that my home is a safe space, which I'm very grateful for, that I can say anything that I'm thinking or feeling and have thoughtful discussions, not only with my husband, but now my kids are teenagers now. In fact, as we're recording this, my son, it's his 21st birthday, which is wild to me that I have a 21-year-old, right? But he has some strong thoughts and feelings and opinions about things, and we don't always agree, but it's interesting to think that somebody I raise thinks a certain way, and I'm always interested to hear. I'm glad that he feels it's a safe space for him, and that vice versa, it's a safe space for me to say things, and my family are like, oh my gosh, you're off the wall for thinking that. So it's...
Are you though? I don't think so.
I'm sure every now and then, aren't we all?
That's true.
But yeah, so having an outlet to vent, just, it makes you feel better to let off a little steam sometimes. All right.
I completely agree. My number 7, maybe not everyone's going to agree with this, but I have practiced this. There's a theme. There's a theme with me this year, for sure, for sure. But rescheduling things to allow time to focus on true priorities. And if that's second nature to you, I think that is great. You have a very important skill that's going to serve you well. If you're like, oh, do you just mean postponing? Yeah, sure I do. Because there are going to be some things that are really important and some things that are really urgent but not important. Or maybe they're really important to someone else who's not that important to you or has a different level. So it's just being clear on what must be done. And then if that's too much, if the musts are too much, because they often are for people in nonprofit, local government, parents, children taking care of their parents, people navigating the world, whatever. Being clear on, this is too much for me right now. I can look at this a month from now. Can we do that instead? And I know, Amanda, you and I have, I've done this. I've really leaned into this year. But I think,
but you're a good communicator about it. And I think when you are working with somebody, whether in, personal or professional settings, it's important to be like, we have this really big load. I cannot carry it all right now. So let's start prioritizing. And the reality is a lot of things can get pushed back. It's a lot of times it's our own sense of urgency we're putting on, but it's got to be done. But really, does it? No, what is our primary focus? And you're very good
Or
about
it has to be done, by the end of the year. Why?
yeah.
And especially like now this is the year we've rolled out new products like our audio courses, right?
Yeah.
We have a lot more content that we want to do, but and I think it was me, I was like, I can't possibly do this by the end of the year if we want to do a good job of that.
Mhm.
Because with it rolling out the audio courses, it's not just the recording and the physical production, but it's how do we let people know? How do we let people know in a meaningful way? Who are we going to let know? How do we do this? And then all of those pieces need words and design and the doing and all those other things. And it's like, for me this year, it's like, let's do this as as well as we can. And then we can have a phase 2
Yeah.
and we can have phase 3. And there's so many things we're looking at for 2026. I was like, for me, it was like, we got this. And if we are able to completely produce 12 modules each of 2 complete audio courses and resource guides, and it sounds good and it's good information and we're excited about it, and we have a plan to get it done, that's a win.
Yeah.
Instead of, yeah, but we didn't do the other 2, or we haven't planned some in-person conferencing things or other things we're thinking about. That's okay, because we're all doing a lot of different things. So rescheduling to be clear so that we can do those good jobs. It all ties in with offloading, with minimally viable. It all comes together for me to like, let's just be mindful. For me, let me be mindful of how I am spending my time, and let me do the things that really matter,
Mhm.
and not everything, because everything is not possible. Perfectionism is not possible. So
Yep.
that's me with number 7.
My number 8 is finding ways that I can implement change, big and small, just on, whether it's on national scale or local scales. And the ways I do that is, first of all, voting in every election. And that's not something I started this year. I married a man who politics is like, I mean, he loves some Georgia football and he's a fanatic about that, but politics is even more of a love for him. And so we've been married for 23 years, and I'm pretty sure have voted in every single election in the past 23 years, whether it's a runoff, whether it's local only, presidential, it doesn't matter. If there's an election, we're there. And that's something we're trying to instill in our kids. And so we have an annual tradition where every time we go, we get up early in the morning, we go vote, and we go to Waffle House and have breakfast together. So I hope it's something that they keep doing. But so always voting, calling up your elected officials, not something I had done before this year, but I have started doing that. And really it's very painless. Like they're just like, okay, you're who, you're what is your stance? What issue? Okay, thank you very much. I've noted that down. Takes less than 5 minutes. So that's something, and I feel better about doing that too.
I think phone calls, I've heard this from many different elected officials over the years, phone calls carry a higher weight than signing email online or online petitions.
Okay, that's good to know.
Just in terms of, if people care enough to pick up the phone and say words to another human being, it has higher value. I'm just saying, not every elected official is going to be different, but that is what I have heard.
Yep. So, okay, this is going to seem small and you're going to be like, Amanda, really? But I have a really good friend who got into the whole Taylor Swift craze of making bracelets, right? And so got together with some friends and made a ton of bracelets
I had
around,
some.
yes, but made some specifically related to before the presidential election that had to do with, who we were wanting to vote for, and, down with the patriarchy and just all kinds of different things. And so just wearing those, sometimes people would comment. My daughter was like, "What's this about?" And so it was a great opener to have a conversation with her about what I believed and why. So, I mean, it may seem small, but something like that was really fun. And then another thing is working with larger groups. Sometimes it can feel like, but I'm just one person. Well, then join some sort of organization. We've talked many times about the group More Than Grant Writers. They're doing some great stuff in the grant professional space, as is community centric fundraising,
Mhm.
helping to shape the world of philanthropy for the better. There's just a couple of examples, but there's tons out there. So if you feel like you're kind of not doing enough on your own, then maybe find a group that is in line with the things that you're thinking and wanting to see happen.
And work with them.
Yep.
Yeah. So my number 9, I entitled Funky Dance Party. Allow me to explain. Um, I think it's very easy to become so absorbed with everything going on and everything that needs to be done and shoulds and needs. And I think that it's just built into our human souls that we also need to appreciate beauty and have moments of joy. And as a part of that, for me, it was putting together. I think now it's grown. It's about 3 hours and 40 minutes worth of 70s and early 80s and some late 60s funk, American funk, um, things that some of the things I grew up listening to, some of the things were a little before me, and some of the things were a little after my formative years. But I put it together sort of on a lark, and then I thought, oh, this is amazing. And to just to illustrate, um, before when I would go work out, I would listen to a podcast, and learn about something, or listen to the news, or listen to a short story or poetry, or an audiobook, and all of those are fine, fine things to do. But I had forgotten how it feels to have Cool and the Gang or whoever blasting a
Earth, Wind,
Hollywood
and
Swing, a
Fire.
personal favorite.
Mhm.
Yeah, and some the bar case. I mean, I could go on, and have that in my ears while I am, just working out or walking inside. So the funky dance party is in my head, and sometimes when I work from home, and sometimes it's in person, and I just put it on and dance around, and so that's important to me, to keep returning to that well, to replenish my soul with creativity and fun, art, theater, writing. I am driven to write and write fiction, and I have been for several years now. There's the business side of being published by the Big Five that I'm pursuing, and that's its own special hell. But the joy of pulling together stories and crafting them and being around other people that also find joy in that, even if sometimes it's really frustrating. It's like, I can't make this work. And then it's like, oh, now I can. It's something that I want to do as long as I can draw breath. And so instead of always stewing and dwelling without action, is not going to change the things that may be bringing you pain. So take action wherever you can, but also make sure that you're going to that well of whatever replenishes your soul. And it's not a giant bag of chips or potato chips. Ask me how I know. It's not necessarily what's the newest TikTok little facial experience. It's maybe finding things that genuinely move you and inspire you, and go back to those kinds of things. So Funky Dance Party can encompass a lot of things. So I would recommend finding that. And that's one of the things that keeps me moving. It's just replenishing my own well.
I like it. Well, and my number 10 is pretty much a very similar thing. It's
I
just
know, I was looking at
figuring
that
out
going,
what we do our lists separately and then we bring them together. So, but mine's is figuring out what it is that brings you joy and doing it.
hmm,
And making those things a priority. And for me, I do like good music, and I will say her funky playlist is fabulous. We listened to it on a road trip together, and it was
maybe we should,
lovely.
if you, and we
We
could
can share it in the
put it,
show notes. Do
yeah,
we
or we could put it in Patreon
Yeah, you can put it
or
both
both.
places. Yep, we can do that. So, for me, it looks like a lot of things, and it doesn't have to be one thing. Like Kimberly said, it's, she said funky dance party, but really it meant a lot of different things. So for me, it's going to UGA football games with my husband and friends. It's I love a live event, whether it's a concert or a musical or a play. Getting lost in a great TV show. Right now we're in the middle of the latest season of the Great British Bake Off, which I know all about because of Kimberly. And it's just that show is a balm to my soul, and so I love it. Once a week I get to relax.
Nice.
It's
They're so nice.
they're
They
so
help each
nice.
other.
Yes.
Anyway,
Watching my daughter out on the lacrosse field kicking butt brings me such pride and joy. Listening to my son. Now, I'll be honest, I understand about 1% of what he's telling me, but my son can repair just about anything on a car. And so he's always excited to come and show me some part he's pulled out of. And I'm like, what is that? And he's like, it's a la 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 la, mom. Don't you know how cars work? I'm like, yeah, I push the gas pedal and it goes as long as I have gas. That's what I know. But he's like, well, when you push the gas pedal, it makes this and it turns this and it like he knows all that stuff. And so even though I don't get half of what he's saying, I love seeing just how his mind works and connects those things. And so just sitting and talking to him. So whatever it is that brings you joy, big, small, I mean, it doesn't have to cost money, right? There are plenty of things that bring me joy that I can do from just from talking to a friend or a loved one. So
also fair.
yes. So there we go.
So that's a heck of a list. It's been a heck of a year, and we're just happy we can share this with you.
Absolutely. So as we're winding down this year and preparing for 2026, I just wanted to say thank you once again to Kimberly for being my partner in both the podcast, for saying yes all those years ago, and how that morphed into HayDay Services, our training company. I couldn't imagine doing this with anybody else. Certainly couldn't imagine surviving the last 12 months without somebody else like you by my side. So thanks.
Thank you so much. And also big thank you to our listeners, whether this is your first episode or you've been with us in season 1, doing the Lord's work, listening to us in season 1 in the year of our Lord 2018. We are grateful for you. You're doing hard work out there. You're doing important things, and we value you. We know this year's been rough, and we hope this list is maybe giving you some ideas of things you can do moving forward in these uncertain times.
Thanks again to today's sponsor, S&F Writing Solutions. If you want to learn more about all that Stacy and her team offers in terms of resources, coaching, and writing services, visit their website at snfwritingsolutions.com.
So y'all, season 8 is officially in the books. Thanks so much for joining us as we wrapped up 2025.
As always, we're so honored you chose to spend time with us today. We'll be back in your ears on January 8th. So until then, we hope you enjoy the holiday season that is December, and Happy New Year. We'll see you next.
See ya. Bye.